This portion of New Day Northwest is sponsored by BECU.
Yesterday, hundreds of BECU employees went to 12 different high schools across our state to teach students the importance of good financial health. Here to tell us more is Boeing Employees Credit Union's Rachel Van Noort. It's good to see you. How are you? So this was cool. You took the holiday and made it really count.
Exactly.
Where'd you go?
Yeah, so yesterday we had over 1,800 employees across Washington State in 12 high schools, reaching almost more than 7,000 students.
That is wonderful. And they're high school students, right?
That's right.
So a lot of them are just beginning to work, or at least beginning to think about what it means to set a financial foundation. Why focus your effort on teens?
Yeah, so a couple of things. The first is that yesterday's event was really about taking kids through a budgeting simulation, giving them skills and the opportunity to practice with a persona, and then make spending choices.
So you're kind of assigned an identity, right?
Right.
And then you have to go around and create your budget based on what it's going to cost you to live.
That's exactly right. We saw teens struggle with needs versus wants.
Yes.
And
I've seen adults struggle with this.
Exactly, and we do all of this because a couple of years ago there was a pretty amazing statistic that was published that 47% of Americans can't come up with $400 in the case of a financial emergency. They'd need to borrow or sell something in order to bridge that gap. And at BECU, we really want to reverse this trend.
Right.
And we think that starting with teens is a good place to start as we think about helping them build those skills through simulations like the one we did yesterday to really become more confident in their financial futures.
Well, and being able to, as you said, make a determination between wants and needs, but also to just be open to the fact that things cost more than you think. There's more stuff you have to pay for. The free cell phone you have now, et cetera, doesn't last forever because your parents aren't paying for it. So what did you find teenagers were most surprised about as they went through the exercise?
You know, the overwhelming comment that we hear is that life is expensive. Many of them,
expensive.
It is, right? And they get a firsthand view of this through the simulation that we do. Many of them had a partner and children in the simulation yesterday. Many of them wanted to get rid of those members of their family so they didn't cost quite so much.
Kids are really expensive.
Exactly.
So that opens their eyes. Does that affect them in terms of understanding the purpose of savings?
You know, there is a savings component to the simulation as well. At the end of the simulation, funds that you have left over, you're invited to put those against savings or to pay down the credit card debt that you're carrying through the simulation as well. We see kids struggle with that decision. How much do we put towards savings? How much of this do I want to use to pay down that debt?
And what do you tell them?
We recommend that they really think about putting 10 to 30% of their funds into savings if they can do that, while also chipping away, paying a little bit more than they need to on that credit card debt that they're carrying.
And I presume they learn just about spending, that essentially that's
exactly
where you
right.
have to start at some point.
Yep.
So for teenagers who couldn't be there, you know, that wasn't their school, there are some online tools that they can use that you've shared, correct?
That's right. At BECU, we really feel strongly that conversations with students about money should start early and should start often. And we really think that talking about money is as important as talking about some of the other life challenges that you face. And so there are a bunch of resources that we have online at becu.org to support conversations, especially between parents and teens, about managing money and managing finances.
And so we were just looking at the computer screen where you can find it, but just go to BECU's website and you can locate that pretty easily. So let's talk about some of the things you brought with you today.
Yeah, so one of those resources that you'll find online is a discussion guide that we've put together. We call it The Next Big Talk. Really, again, sort of comparing a conversation about money with a conversation about bullying or some of those other things. And so this discussion guide has questions for parents and teens to walk through together to really talk about the 4 pillars of financial health: spending, saving, borrowing, and planning. So that teens can ask their parents how they're managing their finances, but parents can also ask teens what they think about. And then the other component of the discussion guide are a set of activities that parents and teens can walk through together. And one of my favorite really relates to these papers that I brought with me. We suggest that families collect those credit card offers that come in the mail, and instead of shredding them or recycling, collect a couple of them, and then lay them out and compare them side by side, and look at some of the details. What do the interest rates look like? Are they going to change over time? Is there a fee associated with a card? What are the terms in terms of repayment, so that teens can learn how to be smart shoppers when it comes to managing
That's
something
a really
like
good idea.
Credit.
Because mostly we just tear those up, right? And tell them
Exactly.
don't sign up for a credit card. But to kind of be able to understand that they're not all created equally, and just because you get something in the mail that's pre-approved doesn't mean it's a good thing to have.
Well, that's exactly right, and that you should really be a savvy consumer when it comes to using credit, because the more responsible you can be and the savvier you can be about a tool like credit, the better off you're going to be.
Well, I'm so glad you have these tools, because kids can get into a big hole at the beginning of life that takes a toll on their credit rating and on their ability to achieve their goals. So this is really important, and we'll make sure we link all this information. To get more financial resources from BECU and their next big talk, please visit the website on your screen. And then, of course, on our website, we'll make sure there are links to make it really easy. But those are great discussions. Thank you. Up next, a new memoir on the joys and struggles of raising a child with special needs.